Hello Data Pros, and welcome back to our exciting new Databricks learning series. Whether you're completely new to Databricks or looking to enhance your real-world project skills, stick around. We'll break everything down in a simple and engaging manner. So, what exactly is Databricks? Databricks is a powerful data platform that helps companies manage and analyze data of any size. Since it's hosted in the cloud, it easily scales up or down, making it an ideal choice for various workloads, including batch and real-time data processing, data analytics, machine learning, and AI. Additionally, Databricks offers advanced enterprise capabilities, including robust security, strong data governance features, high availability, and disaster recovery. All these features are conveniently organized in a unified, easy-to-use interface. With this user interface, data engineers, data scientists, and data analysts can all collaborate on a single workspace to effectively contribute to your organization's success. The original creators of Apache Spark founded the Databricks company and the Databricks product. While Apache Spark is free and open source, Databricks is a commercial product that has Spark at its core. Therefore, having a foundational understanding of Apache Spark is essential. It all began when traditional data warehouses and database systems started facing challenges due to the exponential growth in the volume, velocity, and variety of data that companies needed to manage. These three characteristics are popularly known as the 3 V's of big data. In the early 2000s, Google released a couple of influential research papers on distributed computing, one on the Google File System, GFS, and another on MapReduce for distributed data processing. These papers inspired the creation of the open-source Apache Hadoop ecosystem, which became a foundation for large-scale data processing, offering distributed storage through HDFS and computation through MapReduce. Following this, Apache Spark was developed, delivering up to 100x improved performance over Hadoop's MapReduce by utilizing in-memory processing. Spark's ability to cache intermediate data in memory enabled much faster data processing, making it a popular choice for modern big data applications. This sequence of events set the clear stage for a more stable and robust commercial product, with Databricks being released in 2015. Let's understand distributed data processing with a simple analogy. Let's assume you and your friends are at a community event, and you're asked by the event organizer to count the number of balls of each color in several bags. First, imagine you had to count all the bags by yourself, consolidate the counts, and share the final results. That would indeed take a lot of time. But what if you got 3 of your friends to help? You could distribute the bags among them, have each friend count the number of balls of each color in their assigned bags, send their output to you, and then you consolidate the results. Obviously, the second approach is much faster and easier. This is similar to how big data processing engines like Hadoop and Spark work across clusters of nodes. Since Spark is our focus for understanding Databricks, let's dive a little deeper into it. Apache Spark is a multi-language data processing engine for executing data engineering, data science, and machine learning workloads. Thousands of companies, including 80% of the Fortune 500 companies, use Apache Spark. Now, let's look at this diagram representing the high-level Apache Spark compute architecture. You can easily relate this to the color balls counting analogy that we discussed just before. Think of the cluster manager as the event organizer. You are the driver node, and your friends are the worker nodes. The cluster manager allocates and deallocates both the driver and worker nodes. The driver node runs the main application program, distributes tasks to the worker nodes, and consolidates the final results. The worker nodes execute the tasks assigned by the driver and return their respective output. Now, the next question is, how do you write Spark application code? Spark allows you to write programs in the language you are comfortable with. It supports all major languages such as Scala, Python, R, SQL, and Java. Regardless of the language you use, Spark converts your code behind the scenes into a format that is understandable by its execution engine. Spark's success can largely be attributed to its pre-built APIs and libraries. Most of these are readily available for you to import and use across all supported languages. Let's explore the different APIs available for developers. Spark Core is the foundational API for the Spark platform, serving as the basis upon which all other APIs are built. It provides RDDs, resilient distributed datasets, and in-memory computing capabilities. However, it's important to note that the RDD API is a low-level interface that can be challenging to use, and it does not take advantage of Spark's automatic query optimization features. Therefore, both Spark and Databricks do not recommend using it directly to build your applications. Up next, we have the Spark SQL and Data Frames API, which are essential modules for working with structured data. They allow you to seamlessly mix SQL queries with your Spark programs. If you're new to data frames, think of them as variables that can hold a table-like structure consisting of rows and columns. This table-like structure makes it easy to apply processing logic and transformations to your data. Moving on, let's talk about structured streaming. It's a scalable and fault-tolerant real-time stream processing API. You can write real-time data processing code in a way that closely resembles how you write batch processing code. The main difference is that you only need to make slight changes to the names of the libraries you use for reading and writing data. For instance, you would use spark.read for batch processing and spark.readstream for real-time processing. By making this slight adjustment, Spark recognizes it as real-time processing code. It then takes care of the task of continuously monitoring the data source for any new data. When new data becomes available, Spark processes it and loads it into the target system without any manual intervention or delay. Following that, let's briefly cover GraphX. This API is specifically designed for analyzing graph data, which consists of nodes and edges. For example, you can use GraphX to analyze a social media network by representing users as nodes and their friendships as edges. This data structure allows you to perform tasks like finding the shortest path between users or identifying connections within the network. Finally, we have mlib, which stands for Machine Learning Library. It is essentially a set of pre-built libraries designed to make machine learning easy and scalable. You can simply import these libraries into your code and use them right away to perform common machine learning tasks, such as preparing the data, training the model, evaluating its performance, and deploying it for use. This supports various machine learning algorithms, including classification, regression, clustering, collaborative filtering, and feature extraction. With this foundational understanding of Spark, we can now shift our focus back to the main topic, Databricks. Databricks takes Apache Spark further by adding sophisticated features and enterprise-grade functionalities. Let's break down what this means. Databricks enhances the user experience with a powerful web interface, providing a collaborative workspace where data scientists, analysts, and engineers can seamlessly work together on notebooks and dashboards. While Apache Spark requires manual deployment and management of infrastructure, Databricks allows customers to effortlessly deploy and scale their Spark clusters without the hassle of managing the underlying infrastructure and software. Databricks comes with pre-built support for advanced features and libraries, including Delta Lake, Autoloader, Delta Live Tables, and Databricks utilities. If these terms are new to you, don't worry. We'll explore each of them in greater detail in our upcoming videos. Databricks includes built-in job scheduling capabilities that enable users to schedule, run, and monitor jobs directly from the interface. Databricks offers advanced data governance and security features, such as a data catalog, data lineage, row-level security, dynamic data masking, role-based access control, encryption, and compliance with industry certifications. While Apache Spark can be deployed on-premises or in the cloud, Databricks is a cloud-native platform available on all major cloud providers. This allows Databricks to leverage cloud benefits like scalability, availability, and a pay-as-you-go pricing model with no upfront costs. Databricks simplifies integration with various data sources and tools, including AWS, Azure, Power BI, and Tableau, helping you work within your existing data ecosystem effortlessly. As a commercial product, Databricks features an optimized version of the Spark engine, delivering superior performance for your data workloads compared to the open-source version of Spark. Databricks offers 24/7 technical assistance, along with comprehensive training and consulting services, ensuring that your organization gets the most out of the platform. We've now arrived at the final and most important part of this video, the architecture of Databricks. Let's first focus on the components that I've highlighted. The Databricks architecture consists of three main layers: the control plane, the compute plane, and the data plane. The control plane hosts Databricks backend services, including the web applications required for the Databricks UI and the REST API support. Your notebooks and job definitions. The Unity catalog, which governs and manages data. The cluster manager is responsible for allocating and deallocating compute nodes. The compute plane is where your data is processed, and there are two types of compute planes, serverless and classic. In the case of serverless compute, Databricks maintains a set of pre-booted compute nodes within their own cloud account. A subset of these nodes can be allocated to you for your data processing needs. Since these nodes are readily available, this setup significantly improves cluster startup times. For classic compute, the cluster manager allocates compute nodes within your own cloud account based on your instructions and job requirements. The data plane is where the majority of customer data resides. It's generally the cloud storage account linked to your Databricks workspace. This plane includes a wide variety of data, ranging from raw input files to fully processed Databricks tables, all stored here. Data is generally read from the data plane, processed in the compute plane, and then stored back in the data plane. The control plane and serverless compute plane are both hosted within the Databricks cloud account. In contrast, the classic compute plane and data plane are hosted in the customer's cloud account. While some services in the control plane are shared across multiple customers, Databricks has implemented robust security measures, including strong isolation, encryption, network boundaries, and access controls, to ensure the protection of each customer's data. To protect customer data within the serverless compute plane, serverless compute nodes are deployed within an isolated network boundary specific to each customer. Once processing is complete, these compute nodes are thoroughly wiped before being returned to the common resource pool. That's all for today. Please stay tuned for our next video where we'll explore more Databricks topics. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with the latest technologies. Thanks for watching.